Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here to give the teams we think should be in the college football playoff. We are doing this Sunday night. We've still got Michigan going, but Saturday night.
If we're doing this Sunday night, then let me tell you, we already know the 4 teams. There's debate being had, and we will probably do another one of these on Sunday night. But it is Saturday night.
It's been a long season.
I don't know. Maybe.
It's
Florida State. What you were going to say is Florida State still playing, is what you're saying.
Florida State still play these games. My goodness,
I can't do it with this game. I made the executive decision here. I said, Chris, we're going to start recording this thing. I don't know. We may be recording this once the game is over. I doubt it. So we're just going to throw a couple scenarios. We know Michigan's winning. They're up 20-0 on Iowa with 12 minutes to go in that game. That's basically being up 75-0. So Michigan's getting into the college football playoff. Sorry, it's late. We're just a lot of football, and so let's start there, Chris. Okay, let's start with the first foundation here. You guys talked about this a little bit in the live stream we did after the Georgia-Alabama game, but we're going to kind of just put this all into one little neat video here and go with it. Are you in agreement that Michigan is in?
Yes.
Are you in agreement that Washington is in?
Yes.
Are you in the agreement, which I seem to be seeing on Twitter, there is some differing opinions on this, which I just do not agree with. Are you of the opinion that Texas is in?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if we establish that we are projecting the Southeastern 14, not 538 and all this other stuff you like to use, we're doing 14 here. Southeastern 14 projection, like we're calling an election race here. If we're projecting that Michigan, Washington, and Texas are going to be 1 through 3, do we think that's probably how they'll be ranked too?
That's how I would do it.
All right. So Chris Lee's election results, college football playoff ranking. Michigan 1, Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3. Now we come to the good stuff. As we just said, we are watching this Florida State Louisville game. We don't know who's going to win just yet as we're recording. So let's just quickly run through multiple scenarios here. 2 quick scenarios, Chris. If Florida State wins, well, hold on one second. If Florida State loses, they're out. All right, let's do that first for starters here. Florida State loses. Let's start with that one. Let's make it quick because we don't know. I think they're going to win, but we'll see.
But before I give you my answer, this video is brought to you by friends at BetOnline. The holiday season is off and rolling, NFL in full stride, the NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. BetOnline is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports, not just the Big Four. BetOnline has any info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that is played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to BetOnline today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline where the game starts. So the question again was, if Florida State loses?
We're just going to quickly do this scenario because people are going to be watching this after the game is over, but we have to say this because we're recording it while the game is in progress.
Well, it's not Florida State.
Correct.
So it'd be any one of Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia. Am I missing anybody?
That is the 3. All right. So we're going to just quickly segue that because, again, I knew that was the answer. The answer was pretty easy. It's Florida State's not getting in if that happens. So now we segue to the discussion that's going to include Florida State, because in the event that they win this game, now is where things get interesting. And I think this is the biggest debate that's being had for the 4th spot. I mean, where do you begin when you break down the numbers here and you try to find the 4th team? Is it as simple as saying it's Florida State, or is it more complicated than that?
Well, to be fair, we are an SEC channel, although I did pick Florida State in my preseason.
You
Why
did.
have I got a thumb
You're
down
looking
here?
pretty good.
I did.
You won the college football playoff predictions because Blaine and I both had Georgia winning the whole thing. You did
I
not.
would be embarrassed to tell you how little time I put into that. I had my preseason, well, who cares, right? Look, I do think there's a little bit of bias in favor of great offensive teams, to be clear, okay?
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Keep going because again, people are gonna watch this after the fact, but you're gonna see what I just saw.
Well, Florida State, yeah, I'm watching it now. That just may crash the whole discussion.
Well, we still need to have it.
Punts. Okay. I do think lost in Florida State's ineptitude on offense without Jordan Travis is the fact that his defense is great. That said, that's not enough to move the needle. Do I hate it for Florida State that Jordan Travis got hurt? They're not the same team. Would I hate it for them that they go undefeated if they did and got knocked out of the playoff? Yeah, I would feel horrible for Florida State. But what somebody's going to feel bad. I mean, you leave Ohio State out, you leave Georgia out. Those are really good teams that could win the whole thing that have cases. But you're looking for the best teams in the best cases. And I mean, look, Alabama has beaten probably the best win of anybody in the country. Beat Georgia on a neutral field. Beat Ole Miss, which is, I think, top 10, 12 in the playoff. In Tuscaloosa, beat Alabama, or excuse me, beat LSU and Tennessee, which are both, oh my goodness. I'm watching now. Okay. Beat LSU and Tennessee and Tuscaloosa, both top 25 college football playoff teams. So that's 4 wins against the college football playoff top 25, including beating the team that was number 1 in the rankings in its home state, albeit a neutral field. Also wins at Texas A&M, at Kentucky, at Auburn. Florida State. Let's just say we give Florida State a win in this one. It will have beaten best wins LSU neutral field, Louisville neutral field, at Clemson, Duke, Miami, at Florida. Not bad wins, but they don't match up to Alabama's. And Blake, if we put these teams on a neutral field, Alabama and Florida State right now, what do you think the line would be?
I think Alabama would be favored by double digits.
I do too. And to me, that tells me we know in our heart what the answer is. We just, I can understand why people don't want to get there, but to me, that's case closed at that point.
Okay, so yeah, like it is. There's a lot of debate on this, and like we said, it may ultimately not matter because again, guys, you're probably going to watch this and you can skip forward if you know the result of this game, which you will by the time we release this. But as I'm watching it, it may swing back in Florida State's favor right now, actually. But it's the most deserving versus the 4 best teams, right? That is the debate that's being had everywhere. Should it be the 4 best teams? Should it be the most deserving 4 teams? Because I don't think the answer is the same necessarily. Who was it? Booger, I think, in the halftime of this Florida State game. He was talking about if it's the 4 best teams, then why should the results matter? Essentially saying that
you have to play games, but
well, right, but that's I think was part of the point was if it's the 4 most deserving teams, then what you do on the field has to ultimately reign supreme over everything. And if you have an undefeated Florida State team, that is sitting there put up against these other teams. I mean, here's where I think is interesting. I still see people thinking that Texas is not going to get in. I would be stunned if Texas does not get into this thing. I just think Texas is a lock to get in because what helps them is what, right? Alabama just beat Georgia. So that only helps Texas's case, in my opinion. So I think Texas is a lock for that number 3 spot.
Well, Texas is a conference champion, and it has also been in soul-crushing mode lately. And if eye test matters, Texas has been passing. What do they have, 650 yards in the title game?
Yeah. Well, and Okay, well, let's get this question out of the way because it's going to be at the topic. Because what if this is the scenario? I don't think it is, but what if it was? What if it's Alabama versus Texas for the number 4 spot?
I don't think you can pick Alabama over Texas. They're 2 1-loss teams. Does Alabama have a better resume? Yes, but you would be ignoring the obvious.
Yeah, I don't think the committee
And I would even sort of. I think it'd still be hard to argue. Let's say that it happened in Austin. It was by a point, right? I still think that shifts it in Texas's favor, but it happened in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Albeit it was 3 months ago, but you know, if we're not going to count games in September, then let's just not play them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I mean, that's it, right? And I think it's, again, I just think this is one where, to me, this is, I mean, Georgia, I know you guys talked about in the live stream, but I think Michigan losing was the only path for Georgia.
I do too.
And,
but if we were just going to say we're gonna pick the best 4 teams,
well, I can give you the best 4. Yeah.
Okay, give me your best 4.
I think Georgia's one of the 4 best teams. I mean, I think the 4 best teams to me. Well, it's going to make some fan bases unhappy when we list these off, but I mean, I would say Georgia and Alabama are 2 of the 4 best teams in the country right now overall.
Yeah,
I think Texas is one of those teams. Those 3 I think are probably locks for me in terms of 3 of the 4 best teams in the country. After that, I think you're going to have people that will debate Michigan and Washington.
Ohio State might be in there too.
Yeah, but I think Michigan beating Ohio State, I just don't know how I could say Ohio State's a better team if Michigan beat them.
If you really want to get off topic, the computer still would have, if they played again, Oregon is about a touchdown favorite over Washington.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well,
but,
I mean,
which again points to, I think the 12-team playoff is going to be fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, this is just, I don't know. I mean, again, it's so wild that it come down to this. And look, people have made the point too, since the game was over. You know, the number 1 team entering conference championship week has never been left out of the college football playoff, win or lose, right? So Georgia would be the first team that would be knocked out. But I don't think you just lean on
don't know
history.
how you put them in with, if you weigh what there's such a narrow needle to thread for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Florida State may be 13-0, winning a major conference, and get left out, and it be in my mind, justifiable. There will be people watching that disagree, and I certainly understand the argument, and I'm not going to tell you that you are 100% wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, I think it's just kind of, at this point, it is a, boy. I mean, because you're looking at just how this thing is unfolded, and it would have been much different if Alabama and Georgia went into this game both undefeated. Because I think that would make a difference, perhaps. But because then the winner's a lock, and then the loser, if it's a close game like this, there's a chance that person gets in. But, yeah, man, I look, if I'm giving my final predictions, everybody can say they're SEC this or that and Florida State. I'm just telling you what I think the committee will do. I think it will be Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4, win or lose Florida State.
That is exactly the order I would give.
All right. So give me your percentage on what is the percentage that the SEC does not get a single team into this playoff?
20?
Yeah,
it's just hard for me to see the committee. Okay, this has to be sold for TV.
I think it could be higher than 20, but yeah.
It might be, but I'm thinking, and again, Florida State, you're horribly unlucky. You're not bad. I think you're a really good team, but things are what they are. You don't have Jordan Travis. Everybody thinks Alabama would beat you on a neutral field right now. I mean,
I think the committee here's what it comes down to. We can all say optics don't matter and all this other stuff, but we've seen this before. The committee has an out with Florida State, fair or unfair.
Absolutely.
They have an out. And I'm just telling you, they have shown before they will take an out if it's available and be able to justify that. Now, again, I also understand the other side of if we are talking about teams who deserve a spot, to me, it's like, well, Florida State deserves an opportunity having won every game they played. But I mean, it's still, but again, like you said, if you have, if you're playing a 4-5 game and Florida State's the 4 and Alabama's the 5, the 5's going to be favored by double digits on a neutral field. And so, I mean, so I don't know. Like, I think this is going to be so interesting because I think you can make the committee has an argument one way or the other. Like, they have an argument to keep Alabama out, I think. If it comes down to a close race with Texas, right? You have the argument to keep Alabama out. You also have the argument to pull a Florida State, which they already dropped, and they could say all that nonsense about why they dropped them and all this, but I get it. But again, now we're to the final one. We're not just a week ago where they dropped beyond, whatever couple weeks or whatever it was. Right. So it's just, I don't know, but I think we are of the agreement. It is so incredible to think that Georgia is not going to be in this playoff. I mean, it really is.
What are the odds that Boo Corrigan says, all right, Florida State, we left you out because you don't have Jordan Travis?
Right. He's never
that he said, no, everybody's thinking it, but
never going to say it. He will talk in circles for half an hour and we'll never say that.
Right.
But
no, we didn't consider that. Oh, of course you didn't.
Not at all. Look, and I get people saying, hey, it's one position, right? It's a position that's pretty important from what I understand about the game.
Their defense is wrecking Louisville tonight.
Oh, it is.
Florida State.
I mean, the defense alone could certainly make things interesting. I mean, look, a Florida State Michigan game as the 1-4. I mean,
hey, here's another thing for you.
Matchup.
Do you know who the number one team in ESPN's FPI is right now? I'll have to double check this, but I think I'm right.
Is it Washington?
No, Washington's not even close. The computers still don't like Washington for whatever reason.
Oh, never mind. You're asking FPI. I don't know why I was thinking something else. Ohio State?
Yeah.
Well.
And this is why, because you get a 3-point home field advantage. They're 1/10 of a point ahead of Michigan. I mean, for whatever that's worth, right? But I mean, they went, that game's in Michigan, so either team, like if Ohio State might have been a slight favorite if that game was in Columbus, and who knows, maybe they win the game. I don't know, but
man,
points we're sitting here with Ohio State at 7. Ohio State's biggest crime was it plays in the wrong side of the big, or the big pack, whatever, Big Ten,
whatever this conference is,
whatever you are.
Yeah,
and it played Michigan on the road.
Yeah,
I mean that's where we are. And I said this earlier. I think this is up to date. If you want to take Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Ohio State, well, I'll leave Washington out because computers don't like them. But basically, if you took this, and let me make sure I've got this right before I blurt it out. Okay. This is wonderful podcasting. Okay. The difference between Michigan at 1, which is where the computers have them in this little composite I've weaved together. And oh, by the way, Penn State would also be in this discussion. And Texas at 7 is less than 6 points. That's unusual. I mean, you've got teams 2, which is Ohio State in the computers, and Penn State at 5, separated by 1.5. I think Penn State's overrated, but
all right. Final. We're watching it. We're trying to get to the end of this Florida State game because, like, people are watching this earlier and they're like, "We really try to drag this out." And I think we're about
Well,
to get
my
there.
answer, I don't think our answer changes.
I don't either, but I tell you, the more I think about it, man, I know it sounds wild to think that they would leave an SEC team out, but I don't know, man. If Florida State wins, I know they have the out. There's just part of me that thinks they will go with Michigan, Washington, Texas, Florida State.
Well,
But
Greg Sankey dropped his
I know.
preliminary
Maybe
shot.
I'm the pessimist of the group, so maybe it's just always me
You
looking at it from
are
that standpoint.
Dr.
But
No.
I know, but I can definitely see it because I know they have the out with Florida State. I just don't know if they're going to use it.
Are we going to hang on the filibuster through the rest of this game?
No, because I think Florida State's winning this one. So there you go. You guys let us know what you think in the comments. We've already seen some of them in the live stream. I know everybody has strong opinions about this. But I think we were just kind of debating, comparing. Again, to me, of the group of four that I think people are debating the most, Texas, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, which I think Georgia's on the bottom side of that, but it's an SEC channel. We're going to talk about Georgia since they were the number one team entering this week. I think Texas is the lock, and I just think
there's two locks. I mean, I think Texas is getting in. I think lock is a little strong.
I don't. I think they have to be in. I just don't know how you keep them out.
Okay. I mean,
I really don't.
I'm with you. I don't know if lock's the word I would use, but I know what you mean.
No, I get it. May not be 100%, but I think it's north of 90. I just don't think you can keep them out. But
I was not going to score a point tonight, is it?
I don't.
Could have seen that coming.
And get into that. They were down. Yeah. So I mean, really,
was it true that the first half over under on Iowa scoring was 0.5?
It may have been. I don't know. I don't know. But Alabama versus Florida State. I think this is what it all comes down to. And I think this is going to set the criteria for it. As soon as we know that fourth team, we're going to know exactly what the criteria was. Because I think there's one way that one team qualifies, perhaps, and another way the other team qualifies. So
whoever doesn't get in is going to be screaming.
Oh yeah, this will be one of the loudest ones.
How much screaming do you think will be coming from Columbus and from Athens? Because I thought Georgia would just sort of go, all right, we're not going to make it. But I saw some stuff on Twitter and from Kirby Smart that, we're one of the best four teams. And
they are. They are, in my opinion. I mean, they are one of the best. So if you're judging
what
by
if
that,
the SEC?
What are we going to do if there's not an SEC team in the college football playoff? Are we going to talk about the Cheez-It Bowl and the Duke's Mayo Bowl and all these other ones? Is that it? Is that all we got?
I hope not.
No, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Texas.
That's right.
We're going to talk about Texas.
There's a
introduction.
Never mind. We'll save it for another time.
Introduction to the SEC, Texas Longhorns. So
there's two bowls this year involving pastries, I think, which is a first.
Yeah. Well,
I hope that's not where we are.
Has.
What if the committee says, all right, we're giving you two SEC teams, Georgia and Bama, you're both in?
No. I don't think that. I think that is, as crazy as it sounds, that is the least likely scenario. I think
I do too. I think the SEC is more likely to get left out entirely than to get two.
Could you imagine if Georgia and Alabama both got in and Texas got left out? My goodness. I don't see that happening.
What if? Well, I hadn't thought of it. What if Florida State got in over Texas? Again, don't see it. But
ESPN's playoff predictor, which we talked about in our thing we did on Friday. Would you like to know where they stand right now?
Sure.
And we'll wrap it up with this. Because I know we've been all across the board here, but this is what people are talking about, and we're just trying to bounce different scenarios back and forth, just like we did on Friday. But the chaos scenario has played out on Saturday, and that's kind of, in a certain sense, we're rooting for. But 99% or greater than 99% chance to make the playoff, Michigan. Greater than 99% chance to make the playoff, Washington. You ready for this one? 97% chance to make the playoff, Florida State.
I don't believe you.
This is why I'm telling you, I get the sense that Florida State is going to get in if they win. And if that is the case, I think it comes down to Alabama and Texas, and I think Texas gets the nod. And ESPN's playoff
What are the
predictor
percentages on both those?
agrees. Texas at 55%, Alabama at 41%. So, yeah, I'm telling you, I think there's a chance, but oh boy,
That's crazy.
I know, but it is definitely
What
in
is
play.
that based on?
I don't know. I told you the other day I was playing around with their predictor, and I didn't think it was there were a bunch of different
Does it have a
scenarios.
box that says no Jordan Travis?
I don't know. But we'll see. So there you go, guys. There was 30 minutes of us just trying to figure out the madness here. The chaos scenario has unfolded. And now we see if the SEC gets a team into the college football playoff, which is a phrase I never thought I would say.
Wow.
And we'll probably never have to say 100% certainty in a 12-team college football playoff. So, yeah, there you go.
I hope that next year the 12 team will be as much fun as it would have been this year.
We'll see. I mean, look, I keep going back to Florida State game. I know people are going to be saying, like, Alabama's wins are really good. Alabama's got
nobody has better wins than Alabama, in my opinion.
Yeah. I know. That's just does the committee use the out or do they not? Because there's somebody's got a gif on Twitter of Boo pouring a big glass to get ready for making this decision. Yeah. So
well,
all right.
Let me give you another thing. Georgia's beaten Missouri, Ole Miss, and won in Knoxville.
I know. I know.
That's not chopped liver either. Ohio State beat Penn State, won at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, if you're Georgia, you needed something else to happen. It just happened to be the wrong year to have this loss because it set up well for everyone else. And so, but again, like Kirby said, Kirby's quote was, "It's the best 4 teams." That was how he led with his quote. And, the rest of his quotes. You're going to tell me somebody sitting in that committee room and doesn't think that Georgia team is not one of the best 4 teams? I don't know if they're in the right profession. He's right. They're one of the best 4 teams. I just don't know if that's what they ultimately go with.
Well, it's the same in the NCAA tournament. I mean,
yeah,
your best 4 and your resumes or your best whatever, they're always different answers. You just go with what's loudest. And I think that's back where we started. I think to me, the most reasonable decision would seem to be all factors considered, including the Travis injury, which is not a small thing. It's those 4 teams.
Yep. That's it. So, all right. There's our educated guess / predictions / who knows. More of that to come here at Southeastern 14.
Yeah, Florida State, this is just about to be decided too. So it looks like Seminoles are going to be more than likely, barring a miracle here, unbeaten in ACC champs.
Yeah. So you guys watching this, you will know the outcome and you will know that it's probably going to be Florida State. So take everything we said about Florida State losing out of the picture, which is still, I think there's still, it's just the debate goes on now with Florida State winning. So.
All right. Plenty more stuff coming. Hoops content coming. He's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. This is Southeastern 14 presented by Bet Online.